I don't feed extra mouths. My son said so he got me a job. I smiled and agreed. But the next day, the coffee steams, but I don't sip it. It sits untouched on the table beside the folded paper he left for me like a business card to my worth. Cleaner. Midtown Pet Supplies. 9-hour, start Monday, that's all it says. No greeting, no explanation. Just bold type and a job meant to remind me I am a burden. My son Mark is buttering toast like it's any other morning. His wife Candace floats in wearing peach satin pajamas that cost more than the dress I wore to his wedding. She doesn't look at me. She hasn't looked at me properly in months. It's a strange thing hearing yourself described as extra. I've been called many things, Mom, Nana, Maureen, but extra, it lands differently, like a pebble in an empty well, loud, hollow, and impossible to unhear. He clears his throat and finally says it. I just think it's time you pulled your weight. We're all adults here. Candace chuckles behind her mug. Exactly. We don't feed extra mouths. I nod slowly, carefully. I smile. Not because I agree, but because I don't want to give them the drama they're baiting. I smile like women do when we realize love is being replaced with convenience. You'll be great with animals, Mark adds, trying to soften it. It's not far. A 10-minute walk. I'm 71. My knees have been stiff since I slipped on black ice 3 winters ago. The idea of walking to a job where I'll mop clean cages and breathe in the scent of ferret urine doesn't offend me. What offends me is the lie he tells himself that this is for my dignity, that handing me humiliation is somehow a gift of empowerment. But I don't say that. I sip my cold coffee. I smile again. Thank you, I say, for thinking of me. He relaxes, satisfied. Candace starts talking about dog food brands, how some are better for coat shine, as if I'm already the hired help. In the quiet of my room later, I run my fingers over the photo of us when he was 5. We were standing beside a pumpkin patch, and he had no front teeth and his arms looped around my neck, like I was the safest place on earth. I wonder where that little boy went. I wonder what I did to raise someone who'd someday call me extra. The weekend passes in silence. No one asks how I feel about the job. No one notices I didn't eat dinner on Sunday. Candace's voice echoes down the hallway about brunch plans and who even needs bacon anymore. Monday comes like a dare. I button my coat, I lace my shoes, I pack a sandwich, and I walk. The pet store is a squat strip mall shop with a flickering neon paw print in the window. Inside it smells of cedar shavings and bleach. The girl behind the counter barely looks up. She's got pink braids and gum that snaps with every breath. You the cleaner, she asks. I nod. Cool. Mops are in the back. Gloves are optional, but trust me, you'll want them. The back room is dim. The floor is sticky. There are 5 cages of guinea pigs and 2 tanks full of turtles. I start with the floors. With every swipe of the mop, I think of my son's living room. Gleaming hardwood I cleaned every Friday without being asked. A bathroom I scrubbed after his toddler threw up. A kitchen I mopped when his wife cooked with more wine than food. I've never asked for rent. I've never asked for respect either, and maybe that's the problem. Around noon, the door chimes. A little boy runs in, dragging his mom toward the kittens in the far corner. Look, Mommy, he squeals. She smiles. She leans down beside him. Aren't they sweet? I pause. The mop drips against my shoe, but I don't care. I just watch. Watch this mother lean into the moment, into her boy, into something soft and unbreakable. I was like that once. I clock out late. The gum-snapping girl doesn't say goodbye. My legs ache. My pride does too. But I have a paycheck, tiny, folded, but mine. I carry it home like a secret in my pocket. And when Mark asks, "How was it?" I smile again. It was fine. Tuesday arrives with the same gray sky and colder wind. My knees feel the weight of Monday's hours, but I wake up before anyone else. It's become a habit rising while the house still pretends I'm welcome. The check sits in my coat pocket, folded in half like a keepsake. It's barely enough for groceries, but it has my name on it, my effort, my hours, my aching bones and silent pride. Mark is in the kitchen when I come down. He's on his phone, grunting into his coffee. He doesn't notice me until I grab a slice of bread. You okay? he asks, like someone taught him manners once. I'm fine, I say, just heading out. He nods but doesn't offer a ride. Candace doesn't come down. I hear her upstairs laughing into a video call. Her world rarely touches mine anymore. She says good morning the way some people say bless you out of reflex, not intention. Outside, the wind is sharp. I pull my coat tighter and walk. At the pet store, I learn today's tasks involve cleaning out the bird cages. The girl with the pink braids, Sierra. I finally ask her name, shows me the seed bucket, the water jugs, the poop scraper. Don't let them peck you, she says, and walks away. The parrot squawks the second I open the cage. Nope, it shouts, startling me. I laugh unexpectedly. It's the first time I've laughed in weeks. I think of my sister Ruth. She used to say laughter is rebellion when no one expects it. She lives in Arizona now. We haven't spoken much since the fall. My hands move without thinking, scoop, dump, scrub. My shoulders ache, but it's different from emotional weight. This ache is earned, measured, real. By lunch, I'm done. I sit out back on a crate with my sandwich egg and mustard on dry wheat bread. There's a dented soda machine nearby and a stack of broken crates piled against the wall like forgotten furniture. No one joins me. I'm not surprised. I watch the parking lot. A young mother loads dog food into her trunk while her toddler screams in protest. She looks exhausted. She looks like me 30 years ago. When I return inside, Sierra is watching videos on her phone, chewing gum as if it's her job. She doesn't even look up when she says, "You missed a spot under the ferret cage." I don't answer. I just return to it, bend down slowly and wipe. Ferrets are wild little things. They scratch, they stink, they sleep in knots. But they don't pretend to like you, which I find oddly refreshing. When my shift ends, I stand at the counter to collect my time card. Sierra finally looks at me. "You're back tomorrow, yeah?" I nod. "Yes." She pops a bubble and shrugs. "Cool, most don't last 2 days." I walk home in silence. At the house, dinner is already done. The dishes are stacked in the sink mine I realize to do later. Candace is on the couch scrolling through her tablet. "How was your shift?" she asks without looking up. I place my bag down gently, tiring. Well, work builds character." She grins as if she's said something clever. I look at her, and for a moment, I wonder if she knows who she's talking to. If she's ever imagined scrubbing toilets after giving birth. If she's ever skipped meals so her child could have seconds. Later that night, I try calling Ruth. No answer. I leave a message I don't expect her to return. "I'm okay," I say, "just wanted to hear your voice. I got a job at a pet store." Can you believe that? I don't cry. I won't give this story my tears yet, not until it earns them. Before I sleep, I unfold the paycheck again. I smooth out the creases and place it in a small envelope I brought with me from my old house. The envelope still has my husband's handwriting on it from a letter he wrote me during our 25th anniversary. I trace the letters with my finger. "Still here," I whisper. "Still mine." Wednesday begins with the smell of bacon, but none for me. I come downstairs to find Mark plating breakfast for himself and Candace. 2 eggs sourdough toast, 3 crispy strips, and a glass of orange juice. There's a third plate with a single banana and half a piece of toast. I don't ask if it's mine. I just sit beside it and eat in silence. No one says good morning. The only sound is the clink of his fork against the plate. "Don't forget your job," Candace finally says, sipping her coffee like she's granting permission. I nod. I haven't forgotten. "Good," she says. "We all need to carry our weight." It's not what she says, it's how she says it. Like I'm a guest who's overstayed her welcome. Like I'm 13 again and being scolded for sneaking back in late. I walk to work. My legs burn halfway through. There's a rip in my glove I hadn't noticed before, and the cold seeps into the space between my thumb and forefinger. I keep going. At the pet store, it's grooming day. I'm told to help wash a large golden retriever named Clancy. He smells like wet fur and muddy grass, but he's sweet. When I talk to him, he looks into my eyes like someone who actually listens. That's more than I can say for most. Sierra is late again. I don't mind. The quiet lets me think. While I scrub Clancy, I remember the collie we used to have, Sandy. She was Mark's first real friend. They played under the porch for hours. When Sandy died, Mark cried into my lap so hard he hiccuped for an hour. I stroked his hair and whispered, "We'll be okay. You and me." It's strange the things we hold for them, the grief, the joy, the worry, and how quickly they forget we ever carried it. Later, I'm cleaning out the reptile tanks when a boy, maybe 8 or 9, watches me work. He taps the glass. "Are you the lizard lady?" he asks. I smile. I guess I am today. His mother laughs and thanks me before they leave. The boy waves. It's the first kind gesture I've received in 3 days. When I take my lunch out back again, Sierra follows for once. "Why do you do this?" she asks, plopping down next to me. I blink. "Do what?" "This job. You don't seem desperate." I consider lying, telling her I needed a change, or I like animals, or that I'm just keeping busy. But I'm tired. "My son doesn't want to feed extra mouths," I say, taking a slow bite of my sandwich. Sierra's mouth hangs open. "Seriously?" I nod. "Seriously." She shakes her head. "Damn, that's cold." We don't say much after that. Just sit. 2 women from 2 different lives, letting silence do the work of understanding. That night, I do the dishes without being asked. I notice Mark's golf towel in the laundry hamper and leave it there. I no longer feel responsible for the small kindnesses he never notices. Afterward, I retreat to my room. I find an old journal and begin to write. "Dear younger me, you won't believe where we ended up. Not in some tragic way, just different, tired, a little more invisible than we imagined, but also not broken." I stop there. Close the book, let the ink dry slowly. I sit at the edge of my bed and look at the framed photo on my nightstand, me, Mark, and his father on a camping trip. We were standing around a fire, cheeks flushed from wind and hot cocoa. His hand was in mine. He used to call me Mama with such tenderness, as if the word alone could wrap us both in warmth. When did Mama become extra mouth? I lie back, blanket pulled to my chin, and let my breath slow. I'm tired, but I am not done. Thursday begins with silence. Not the peaceful kind, but the kind that stretches across a room like fog, thick, cold, and waiting to be broken. I walk past the kitchen where Mark and Candace are whispering. When I step in, they both go quiet. There's no plate for me today, not even toast. I pour myself some lukewarm coffee and sip it standing up. Mark clears his throat, pretending to check something on his phone. Candace straightens her silk robe and says, "Oh, there's no more eggs." I nod. The walk to work feels longer today. My knees click with each step, but I don't slow down. I focus on the rhythm, left, right, as if every step forward is one more inch of independence they can't steal from me. At the pet store, the smell of hay and hamster feed greets me. There's something oddly comforting in its predictability. Sierra's already there, tapping at the register with a look of mild panic. "It's not working," she says, "and I don't do math before noon." I step behind the counter. Let me see. Within minutes, I've found the problem. Someone unplugged the router in the back office. Sierra blinks at me. "How'd you know that?" I shrug. I raised a son in the early 2000s. I'm basically a retired IT department. She laughs, really laughs, and for the first time, it feels like something warm reaches me in return. Later, while cleaning the fish tanks, a woman comes in with a small box. "My daughter's hamster died," she says quietly. She's heartbroken. We want to bury it, but she wants something to remember it by. I help her pick out a small clay ornament shaped like a sunflower. She asks if I could write the name Nibbles on it with a paint pen we keep behind the desk. I do carefully. My hands tremble just slightly, but I steady them. When I hand it to her, she touches my arm. "Thank you," she says. "You were very kind." Kind. It echoes in my chest, louder than I expect. No one's called me that in months. By lunch, Sierra brings out 2 coffees. She holds one toward me like an awkward peace offering. "Here," she says. "Not from the machine, real stuff." I smile and take it. "Thank you." She shrugs. "You're not like the others who've worked here. They usually quit after 1 shift, but you just keep showing up." I look at her truly, look at her young, bright, but hiding some kind of tired. I wonder who she goes home to, or if anyone notices when she walks through her door. Showing up is what moms do, I say quietly. When I return home, I find Candace reorganizing the pantry. "Can you move your oatmeal?" she asks. "It's taking up space." I nod and move it to the back corner. There's no need to argue. That night, I make dinner chicken soup and warm bread. Mark says nothing. Candace picks at the carrots. I don't join them. I eat at the counter alone, looking out the window. The night is still dark, but for once, it doesn't feel empty. It feels honest. Later, I sit at my window and write another letter, not one I'll send. Dear Ruth, remember when we thought turning 70 would mean rest jokes on us, huh? Still, I'm working again, and somehow, I don't hate it. Not because of the mop or the fur or the smell, but because it's mine. Every dollar, every minute, mine. I pause, then underline that last word. I tuck the letter into my old book of poetry and lie down with a soft breath. I think about the woman who asked me to write nibbles on that sunflower. I wonder if the girl cried when she saw it. I hope so. Not because grief is good, but because it means something mattered. We all just want to matter, don't we? Even if it's just to a hamster, or a stranger, or a golden retriever named Clancy. Friday morning, I don't wait for breakfast. I'm up dressed and out the door before either of them has come down. There's power in not waiting to be seen. There's peace in not needing their crumbs. The wind bites, but I welcome it. It wakes something up inside me. Not just my muscles, but my memory, my spine, my sense of self. At the pet store, Sierra's already there with a half-eaten bagel and a large, messy notebook open on the counter. She's scribbling something in glittery pen. What's all that, I ask, hanging my coat? Business plan, she mutters. Maybe, for a side thing. She looks embarrassed, like she's been caught believing in herself. I know that feeling. Want help, I offer. She blinks. You know about this stuff. I used to do the books for my late husband's auto shop, I say. And before that, I ran our church fundraiser for 8 years. Trust me, I've wrangled worse spreadsheets than whatever that is. She slides the notebook toward me. We work on it during breaks. She sketches ideas. I add notes. We laugh. Something starts to bloom between us. Not friendship exactly, but a soft truce. A recognition. She tells me her grandmother raised her. I tell her mine taught me how to sew. By the end of the day, we're trading ideas like old friends. You ever thought of doing your own thing? She asks suddenly. I shrug. That chapter feels closed. But what if it's not? She says, eyes shining with that raw, reckless hope that only young people carry without shame. I don't answer. Not out loud, but the idea lingers like the smell of lavender from a long-forgotten drawer. When I get home, Candace is on the phone pacing. Yes, she's still working there, she says into the receiver. Honestly, I didn't think she'd last. I walk past her without saying a word. I don't need to know who she's talking to, I already do. In my room, I open the envelope with my first paycheck. It's still there untouched. Not because I've forgotten, but because I'm deciding. I log into my old email account, one I haven't used since before I moved in here. There are over 2,000 unread messages, but one catches my eye, a newsletter from Silver Roots, an artisan collective I subscribed to years ago. Women over 60, quilters, bakers, pottery and candle makers, a forgotten dream tucked between spam and overdue notices. I click the link. They're still active, still running their little storefront in a neighboring town. They even have an open call for seasonal contributors. I read the words again. Looking for women with a story and a skill to share. I close the laptop. For now, but I feel it something inside me, stirring, turning like soil before spring. That night dinner is leftovers. No one sets a table. Mark eats in the living room. Candace scrolls on her tablet. I warm a bowl of soup and sit by the window, watching the moon drift behind the clouds. I don't feel bitter, not tonight. Just done. Done waiting. Done earning smiles from people who forgot who I am, who I was. I used to be a woman who danced barefoot in the kitchen with her husband, who wore red lipstick to PTA meetings, who stayed up late mending Halloween costumes and folding laundry like it was sacred work. I am not extra. I am not invisible. Before I sleep, I write a new entry in my journal. Dear future me. You didn't break. Not completely. You bent, yes, folded, even. But deep inside something held, and you waited, not because you were weak, but because you were watching, learning, and now you move differently. I set the journal down. I sleep without crying. Saturday morning arrives with sunlight so sharp it cuts through the blinds and spills across my bed like a spotlight. I blink into the light and take a breath that feels just slightly different, clearer maybe. or simply mine. I don't go into the kitchen. I don't need coffee today. What I need is purpose. Instead, I sit on the edge of my bed with my sewing basket open on my lap. I haven't touched it since the move. Inside, the needles are tucked into a velvet cushion that once belonged to my grandmother. The spools of thread are faded but still strong. I pull out a square of floral fabric and begin stitching without even thinking. The muscle memory of care. Down the hall, I hear Candace's heels clicking against the hardwood and Mark's usual Saturday complaint about the car's funny noise. Their world spins on without me, and I let it. At noon, I leave the house with two things, the envelope holding my first paycheck and a canvas tote filled with hand-stitched pot holders I made last winter, back when I still believed this household could become a home. The town next over isn't far, just one bus transfer and a 10-minute walk. The sign for Silver Roots Collective sits above a blue-painted storefront with wide glass windows and handmade signs. Inside, the air smells like beeswax and cinnamon. I introduce myself at the counter. The woman behind it, gray braids, gold earrings, eyes that twinkle with too much life for her age, smiles before I can finish. "Maureen, right?" she says. "We got your email last night. I hoped you'd come in." She leads me to a back room with wooden tables and drying racks. There's a kettle on. Quilts hang on the wall like flags of survival. Everything here whispers belonging. I show her my work, simple, yes, but sturdy. She holds a pot holder like it's something precious. This, she says, is exactly what we're about. Stories sewn right into the seams. She pours tea. We talk. I tell her about my husband, about raising Mark, about how silence has a weight no one talks about. She nods through it all, and not once do I feel pitied. By the end of our conversation, she offers me a corner table and a shelf. "Bring what you make," she says. "Bring yourself, too." I walk out of that shop feeling taller than I have in months. When I return home, Mark is fiddling with a wrench in the garage, and Candace is in the garden yelling into her phone. No one asks where I've been. I no longer expect them to. That evening, I eat dinner in my room. A sandwich, some tea. Simple. Satisfying. The door is shut, but I don't feel shut out. I feel separate, intact. Later, I sit at my desk and pull out the envelope again. I take the check and tear it down the middle. Not out of anger, but because it was never about the money. It was about what I'm worth, and I already know the answer. I write a short note on the back of the torn envelope. "You tried to teach me shame, but I found pride instead." I leave it in the kitchen beside the sink where I know Candace will find it when she goes to inspect the dishes I didn't wash. Then I return to my room and finish stitching the final piece for my first display, a tea towel embroidered with the words, "Still here, still whole." I iron it with care, fold it gently, and slide it into the canvas tote. Tomorrow I will walk back into that little shop. And this time I won't feel like an extra mouth. I'll feel like something else entirely. A woman reclaiming her space in the world. Sunday is quiet. Not the kind of quiet that punishes, but the kind that listens. That waits. That holds you gently by the shoulders and says, "You can start again." I rise without an alarm. No one knocks. No one calls my name. The house is still, except for the occasional creak of the floorboards expanding in the morning sun. I dress slowly, sweater, scarf, comfortable shoes. Not to please anyone, just for me. Before I leave, I glance around the room I've slept in for almost a year. It's tidy, sparse. My suitcase still half-zipped in the closet like it always knew this wasn't permanent. I walk to the bus stop with the canvas tote in hand and a feeling in my chest I can only describe as lightness, like exhaling after holding your breath too long. At Silver Roots, the back door is already propped open. Laughter spills out before I even step inside. The woman with the gray braids, her name is Elise. I've learned waves me in with paint on her hands and a twinkle in her eye. There are others this time. 4 women gathered around the long wooden table. One is arranging dried lavender into bundles. Another is crocheting dishcloths with practiced hands. Someone is hammering a small metal charm with letters that spell hope. I place my tea towels, pot holders, and cloth baskets on the table, carefully arranging them by color. Elise brings over little wooden signs with my name on them in neat cursive Maureen, hand-stitched and heart-made. I can feel my throat tighten. They ask me questions. Where are you from? How did you learn to sew? What brought you here? And I answer, not all at once, not everything, but enough. We take turns sharing stories between sips of tea. There's a kind of reverence here for women's hands, for resilience, for starting again when you thought you were already at the end. By late afternoon, Elise hangs one of my towels in the front window, the one that reads "Still here, still whole." She turns to me. "This is just the beginning, Maureen. You have more to offer than you know." I nod, but I don't cry, not yet. On my way home, I stop at the park where I used to take Mark when he was little. The swings are still there, slightly rusted. A mother is pushing a toddler, her face soft and patient. I sit on a bench and watch them for a long time. When I finally return to the house, I find Mark in the kitchen sorting through mail. He glances up but doesn't ask where I've been. Candace is wiping down the counters. Her face is pinched. She sees the torn paycheck envelope still sitting near the sink. She holds it up. Was this supposed to be a message? I meet her gaze calm and steady. It was supposed to be a thank you. She frowns. For what? For the push, I say, even if it came wrapped in disrespect. I walk past her before she can respond. My heart isn't bitter anymore. It's simply full of something else. Upstairs, I open a new notebook and begin writing again. Dear daughter-in-law. You don't have to love me, but you do need to know this someday someone might treat you the way you've treated me. And when that day comes, I hope you remember the woman who scrubbed your floors, folded your laundry, and ate toast without complaint. The woman you called an extra mouth, and I hope you choose differently. I close the notebook. The weight is shifting, slowly, but I can feel it. The next time they ask where I'm going, I'll say to my shop, and I will mean it. Monday morning smells like toast and tension. I come downstairs later than usual. No rush today. I've earned the right to take up time, space, breath. Mark is at the table tie, already half nodded, tapping away on his phone. He glances up as I enter, but says nothing. Candace is wiping crumbs from the counter like she's chasing perfection with a dish rag. I pour myself coffee. No one offers. Finally, Mark looks up. You working today? I nod, but not too eagerly. Not at the pet store. He blinks. Oh, I've joined a collective, I say. Selling handmade goods. Craftswomen over 60. Local. We have a storefront. There's a pause long enough to slice. He nods slowly. Well, good for you, Mom. It's the first time he's called me that in days. Maybe weeks. Candace doesn't look up. She says nothing at all. I take my coffee and sit at the table, nod off to the side, not near the sink. Right at the head. I sip slowly, breathing in every drop of this small shift in power. Not out of revenge, out of reclamation. Later, I walk to the bus stop carrying a new tote filled with fresh stock, 3 new embroidered towels, 2 quilted hot pads, a small stitched pouch that reads, Grow Anyway. When I arrive at Silver Roots, the shop is already buzzing. Elise waves me over and gestures to a small shelf newly cleared in the front of the store. This is yours, she says. It's time. I place my items carefully. There's something sacred in the arrangement, like lighting candles, like setting a table for someone you love. Only this time, it's for me. Around lunchtime, a young woman walks in, wide-eyed, holding her child's hand. She stops at my shelf. These are beautiful, she says. She picks up the pouch with Grow Anyway on it and runs her thumb over the stitching. I'll take this one, she says, smiling. It's for my mom. My throat tightens, but I hold it. When she leaves, I step outside. The sky is high and blue, the breeze soft against my face. I close my eyes and just stand there for a moment. I am 71. I am not extra. I am not fragile. I am not invisible. That evening, I arrive home late, on purpose. Dinner is already done. Candace is rinsing dishes in the sink. Mark is watching TV. I walk past them without explanation. In my room, I place a tiny ceramic vase, a gift from Elise, on the windowsill. Inside it, I tuck 1 sprig of lavender from the shop. I write another letter. Not to anyone else, just for me. Dear Maureen, you've survived worse. You've survived silence, small cruelties, and the long ache of being unseen. But now you're growing things again with your hands, with your voice, with your choices. Don't look back. You have things to make, places to be, stories to tell. I fold the letter and place it inside the vase. I sit back in the chair by the window and let the evening settle in. The house no longer feels like a cage. It feels like a hallway I'm passing through, one I no longer plan to stay in forever. I'm not sure what comes next, but I do know this. The rest of me is not for them to define. Tuesday begins with rain tapping the windows like a soft reminder you're still here. You're still moving forward. I rise dress and braid my hair with the same care I used to give my daughter before school, back when mornings were full of warm milk and half-forgotten homework, not silence and strained air. No one is downstairs when I enter the kitchen. The coffee's still warm but untouched. I pour myself a cup and hum a little tune under my breath. Something old, something mine. The rain keeps time on the roof. Before I leave, I grab a bundle of fresh stitching I finished last night. Each one bears a word I haven't spoken in too long. Hope, stillness, enough, home. On the bus, a man offers me a seat. I thank him surprised, but take it with quiet grace. These small gestures, a look of kindness, feel louder than the words I haven't heard from my own family in weeks. At Silver Roots, there's a new energy in the air. Elise has moved some displays, and my section now faces the main aisle. My work, the pieces I've shaped by hand and heartbreak, sit where everyone can see them. A woman browsing stops in front of my embroidered towel. She turns searching. Are you the artist? Artist. I almost laugh. Me. A woman who was told she took up too much space, ate too much, gave too little. Yes, I say, I am. She smiles. My mother would love this. I nod. I hope she does. I return to the back and sit with the others. The air smells of lavender wax and cinnamon bread someone brought to share. The warmth of the room isn't just in the thermostat, it's in the way these women speak each other's names with care. During a lull, Elise hands me a flyer. We've been asked to set up a booth at the local fair. Would you join? I hesitate. Only if you want, she says gently. I hold the paper. My hands no longer tremble. Yes, I say, I think I would like that. The moment sits between us like the first flicker of a flame. When I leave that evening, I walk a little slower. The rain has stopped. The trees glisten. A child rides past on a bike trailing a soggy red cape behind him. He waves. I wave back. At home, Candace is folding laundry. She barely glances up. Mark isn't in sight. I move past them invisible again, and yet somehow more whole than I've been in years. In my room, I hang my fair flyer on the wall with a pin from my old sewing kit. Beside it, I tape a photo of my husband, us on the porch, laughing, the world still soft around the edges. I whisper into the stillness. Can you see me now? There's no answer. But for once, I don't need one, because I can. Wednesday brings a chill that settles in the bones but not in the heart. I wake early, not because I have to, but because I want to. There's a difference. One comes from duty, the other from purpose. My hands ache a little as I button my cardigan. The older I get, the more my body tells the truth, even when my mouth stays quiet. But there's strength in this ache, like a bell ringing from somewhere deep inside me. You are still capable. You are still here. Downstairs, the silence is thicker than usual. I find Mark at the table looking into his coffee like it might offer answers. He glances up, startled to see me. Morning, he says. Morning. He fumbles for something else, then mutters, I saw one of your towels. Online. Someone posted about that shop. Said your work made them cry. I nod, sipping from my chipped mug. People cry for all kinds of reasons. Sometimes even when they don't realize they needed to. He doesn't respond. But for the first time in weeks, he looks at me, not through me. Candace enters moments later, dressed for yoga, phone already in hand. She freezes when she sees us both at the table. There's a flicker of tension, as if she's walked into a conversation that feels too real. I need the car later, she says to Mark, not me. My class got moved. Fine, he replies. He doesn't look away from me. She leaves the room without another word. I rise. Have a good day, I offer. He opens his mouth, then closes it. It's not an apology, but it is something. The bus ride to the shop feels shorter. The city feels brighter, even if it's not. Sometimes it's not the sun that changes, but the way we let it touch us. At Silver Roots, Elise is rearranging the display window. Maureen, she calls, you've got fans. She points to a small stack of notes pinned beside my shelf. Customers have been leaving handwritten messages. Reminds me of my mother. Thank you for this softness in the middle of my hard day. Whoever made this, I see you. I touch each one like a prayer. I spend the morning restocking straightening, listening to the gentle buzz of laughter scissors and honest stories. At lunch, I sit beside a new member named Rosa. Her hands are steady, worn with decades of baking. She's making sachets filled with cloves and dried orange peels. I ask her how long she's been doing this. Since my husband left, she says. Not when he died, when he left. I figured if I could make something smell sweet again, maybe I could too. I nod more than understanding. After lunch, I sew slowly, deliberately, stitching each letter of a new towel. You don't have to thank me. Just treat the next woman better. I don't know who will buy it, but I know someone will. That night, I walk past the kitchen without stopping. No one asks where I've been. No one offers food. But when I enter my room, something's different. A plate sits on my nightstand, a bowl of warm stew, a piece of cornbread wrapped in foil. No note, no explanation, just food from someone. And it tastes like a beginning. Thursday morning, I wake to birdsong. It's faint, tucked beneath the rattle of wind against the windows, but it's there, real alive. I sit up slowly, letting my feet find the floor. The stew bowl is empty now, rinsed and left neatly beside the sink. No one mentions it. That's fine. Not everything needs to be said. The kitchen is empty when I pass through. The sky is overcast, but not bleak. There's a soft glow to it, like the light you find inside a church just before a service starts quiet, reverent waiting. I catch my reflection in the hallway mirror and pause. My face has lines it didn't have 5 years ago. My shoulders curve more than they once did. But my eyes, they look clearer now. Less lost. On the bus, I hold my latest bundle close to my chest, a collection of stitched bookmarks with words like resilient, rooted, and you are not a burden. Small pieces, but honest ones. At Silver Roots, a man is already waiting at the door when I arrive. Mid-40s, clean jacket, hesitant eyes. You open yet, he asks. I smile. You're early, but come in. He steps inside, looking around like the shelves hold secrets. My mom, passed recently, he says, voice-catching. She used to sew, found you guys online, thought maybe... He trails off, unsure what he needs. I guide him to my shelf. He runs his fingers over a towel with the words, "She left strength in the seams, stitched in navy thread." She'd like this, he says. She used to say the same kind of stuff. Quiet strength, you know? I nod. The kind people don't thank you for until they can't call anymore. He smiles, tired but grateful. He buys the towel and leaves with misty eyes and a hand on his chest like he's holding something sacred. After he goes, Elise pulls me aside. "We're making a catalog," she says. "A seasonal one. I want to feature you." I blink. Me. She places a gentle hand on my arm. "Maureen, you remind women who forgot who they were that they're still here, that they still matter." The words land so softly they echo. I help her set up for photos. I iron the towels with care. Not just for display, but as if each thread holds the story of a woman on the verge of remembering herself. Back at home that evening, Mark is sitting in the living room with his laptop open. He looks up as I hang my coat. "Hey," he says, "I saw that towel, the one about strength in the seams. It's good." I nod slowly. It's honest. There's a beat of silence. He looks down, then back at me. I didn't realize. He stops himself. "It's okay," I say gently. "You weren't supposed to yet." I head to my room, not angry, just clear. That night, I write a letter I'll never send. Dear Mark, you once cried in my arms over a broken toy and I held your world together with duct tape and lullabies. You once called me your superhero. That woman never left. She just learned to hold her own hand when no one else would. I tuck the letter away, then lie in bed listening to the wind shift through the trees. The house still doesn't feel like home, but I do. Friday begins not with silence, but with music, faint crackling from a speaker somewhere in the kitchen. Jazz. The kind my husband used to hum along with when fixing the sink or cleaning out the gutters. I follow the sound, expecting it to vanish like so many soft things do in this house. But it's real. Mark is in the kitchen stirring a pot of oatmeal. He looks up, startled to see me, then gestures awkwardly to the saucepan. I made extra. I nod. Thank you. He doesn't say more and I don't push. The gesture is small. but so was the first flower in spring. We eat in quiet, not cold, not warm, just real. Candace doesn't come down. I don't ask where she is. At Silver Roots, the shop is buzzing with quiet preparation. The spring fair is just a day away and we're all scrambling, tagging items, finalizing price lists, wrapping bundles of handmade soap and sachets in twine. I set out my new collection, a series of linen napkins embroidered with single weighty words: mercy, boundaries, grace, stillness. Each one stitched with deliberate slowness, like I was telling the fabric something it needed to remember. Elise claps her hands and calls out assignments. I'm on the booth's main table right beside Rosa's jam preserves and Leah's beeswax candles. You have a way of drawing people in, Elise says, smiling. You're not loud, but you're heard. I blush a little. It's been so long since I've been seen like that. Later, as I'm packing up my display box, Sierra walks in, hood up mascara slightly smudged. Hey, she says, then stops. I don't know why I came, She trails off, eyes full of something she can't yet name. I walk over, open the box, and hand her a tea towel that reads, "You're allowed to start over too." She stares at it. "Did you make this for me?" "No," I say softly, "but I made it knowing someone like you would find it." She nods, blinking fast. "I think I want to join the shop," she says. "We'd love to have you." That night, I iron each piece for the fair with slow hands and soft music playing low beside me. I press seams, flat trim threads, fold corners like I'm tucking in children for sleep. There's something holy about preparing for something you chose. Back upstairs, I open a drawer and pull out a letter from years ago, one my husband wrote to me after our 30th anniversary. "You make the ordinary feel safe," he wrote. "You are the reason the house feels like home." I hold the letter in both hands. His words meet me like a mirror. And then I realize, maybe the problem wasn't that I became extra. Maybe it was that they never learned how to see what I made invisible. The love, the care, the staying. But now I'm no longer waiting to be seen. I've stitched proof of myself into cotton linen thread, and tomorrow I'll lay it out for the world to touch. Saturday dawns cool and gold, the kind of morning that wraps everything in a quiet hush, as if the world knows something sacred is about to begin. I rise early, braid my hair back tight, and wear my softest cardigan, the one with tiny embroidered roses near the collar. My hands tremble slightly as I button it. Nerves, maybe. Or just the weight of significance. In the kitchen, Mark is pouring coffee. He sees me with my tote in hand display box under my arm. "You going to the fair?" he asks like it's small talk. But there's something in his voice. Something that waits. I nod. "It's today. I have a booth." He rubs the back of his neck. I might stop by if I can get away. I don't ask if Candace will come. I already know. Instead, I smile. If you do, I'll be near the corner stage, by the beeswax and jams. I leave before the air changes. I want to walk into this day without the heaviness of disappointment. Just possibility. At the fairgrounds, the world is already bright with color. White tents, fluttering banners, families milling between booths with cinnamon buns and paper cups of cider. I find the Silver Roots table with ease. Elise is there laying out soaps. Rosa is setting out jars wrapped in gingham. I arrange my pieces, last tea towels, bookmarks, napkins, sachets, all labeled and stacked with care. We open at 10. By 10:30, the first woman buys a towel, then another. Then a pair of sisters asks for 3 napkins for the holidays, because these feel like something Mom would have made. People don't just buy my work, they pause, read, touch the fabric like they're touching memory. One woman wipes her eyes, another hugs me without asking. Around noon, I glance up and he's there. Mark. No Candace. Just him standing awkwardly at the edge of the tent, hands shoved into his coat pockets. He approaches slowly. Picks up a towel that reads, "Raised by grace, survived by fire." "This one," he says, "this feels like you." I nod. He clears his throat. "You made all these." "Yes," I say, "every stitch." He looks around, then meets my eyes. "I was wrong. About everything. About what I thought you needed. What I thought you were. It's not an apology, but it's more than silence. You don't owe me anything," I say gently. "No," he says, "but maybe I owe you everything. I just didn't see it." For a moment, we stand there, and the years between us tremble, almost bridge. He reaches for his wallet and pulls out cash. "I'll take this one." he says, holding the towel that carries the fire. When he walks away, he looks back once like he might say more. But he doesn't. And that's okay. The fair continues with laughter and sunlight and too much wind fluttering the corners of our displays. But my items keep vanishing. By the end of the day, nearly everything's gone. We pack up slowly. Elise hugs me tight and warm. "You're one of us now," she says. "Not just here, everywhere." The sun dips as I ride the bus home, my bag light, but my chest full. I think of the women who touched my work, cried into it, carried it away. And I think maybe I've become something more than a mother, more than a guest. Maybe I've become a presence. At home, I enter quietly. Candace is on the couch, feet tucked up, scrolling. She barely looks up. "How was your little thing?" she asks, voice bored. I pause in the hallway. Then I smile, not bitter, not smug, just calm. It was more than a thing I say softly, it was mine. And I walk past her with the grace of a woman who finally remembers her worth. Sunday feels different. Not louder, not busier, just quieter, but in a dignified way, like the moment right after a long symphony ends, and no one claps yet because they're still holding the feeling. I sleep in for once. No alarm, no guilt. The sun is high by the time I rise, brushing a warm hand across my window. I stretch slowly, listening to the soft clicks in my joints, the only reminders of all the years I've carried. But they don't hurt today. They just speak. Downstairs, I find the kitchen empty, but something on the counter stops me. A single pink mug, steam curling gently from the rim, the smell of cinnamon, my favorite tea. I don't need a note to know it was Mark. I wrap my fingers around the mug and hold it for a long moment before taking a sip. It's not an apology, but it's a gesture. And those are sometimes more honest. I spend the morning writing. Not letters, not journals, just words. Phrases that have lived in me too long without a home. You can forgive without forgetting. Some silences are protection. Love doesn't excuse erasure. Quiet women still bleed. I let the pen move freely across the page. Not for anyone else. For me. At noon, I walk to the nearby thrift store and find an old wooden frame. I paint it white, then sand the edges so it looks weathered, softened by time. I slip my stitched phrase, "still here, still whole," behind the glass and place it on my nightstand right beside the vase of lavender. Later, I hear Mark knocking at my door. I open it. He stands there holding a casserole dish. "I made lasagna," he says. "Thought you might want some, just, as thanks. For everything. And I'm proud of you." I don't say that enough. It's not just the words, it's his eyes. They don't flicker with discomfort or obligation. They settle, finally, with awareness. "Thank you," I say, taking the dish. He nods, lingers, then smiles. "Candace's mother is coming next weekend," he says carefully. Maybe you could come with me to pick her up. We could talk." The invitation surprises me, not because I needed it, but because he thought to offer it. Maybe I say. That evening, I eat lasagna from a floral plate I found in the back of the cupboard. I light a candle. No music, no phone, just me and the warmth of a day well lived. I finish one last tea towel before bed. It reads, "Some roots grow stronger when buried." I lay it beside tomorrow's items for the shop, fold it with quiet reverence, and turn out the light. I sleep not with a heart full of hope or bitterness, but with one full of balance. Because sometimes healing doesn't roar. Sometimes it whispers. And stays Monday. 1 full week since that folded job slip slid across the kitchen table like a dismissal. 7 days since my son called me an extra mouth. But today I rise not as a burden, but as a woman reborn in her own rhythm. I move through the house quietly but not meekly. Every step feels grounded now, anchored. I'm no longer floating at the edges of their lives. I've stepped outside the frame entirely. And I like the view from here. In the kitchen, Mark is scrambling eggs. He looks up when I enter and smiles, not the nervous kind, not the polite kind. Something else. Something warmer. "Morning, Mom." It's the mom that lands softest. "Good morning," I say, pouring tea. Candace walks in, eyeing us with caution. She offers a quick hello, but says little. I catch her watching me from the corner of her eye as I prepare my tote for the day, neatly folded new towels, a few lavender sachets, the framed piece I plan to hang by the register. This is what surviving looks like. By the door, Mark clears his throat. I was thinking, maybe sometime you could teach me to sew. I raise an eyebrow. Sew? He shrugs. It seems calming, useful, and I never learned. There's something in his voice that wasn't there before humility, maybe, or the beginnings of respect. We'll see, I say with a small smile, one stitch at a time. At Silver Roots, Elise greets me with a cup of coffee already waiting and a note from a customer who came by Sunday after we'd closed. Your words made me cry in the best way. Thank you for reminding me that being invisible doesn't mean being unmade. I place the note beside the others on the bulletin board, each one a thread in a growing tapestry of unseen lives, finally finding light. Around noon, Sierra walks in carrying a box. I made candles, she says proudly. Smells like orange peel and second chances. We all laugh. The booth is hers now. She's ready. That afternoon, I take a walk before heading home. Just around the square, past the old fountain where my husband once held my hand and said, "You're the only reason I kept going." I remember that moment, how I thought it would echo forever. But now I understand it wasn't meant to echo. It was meant to carry me until I could keep going on my own. At home, I find a package on my bed, wrapped in brown paper, no name, just a ribbon tied awkwardly but earnestly. Inside a sketchbook, blank pages, and a note in Mark's handwriting. For your next chapter. No apology, no explanation, just a gesture. I run my fingers across the first page, then pick up a pen. Dear future me, look how far you've come without needing permission. Look how you stitched a life back together with nothing but thread time and your own two hands. Tuesday evening falls like a soft exhale. The shop closed hours ago, but I'm still there sweeping the floor as golden light drapes across the hardwood. My hands move slowly, rhythmically, as if they remember the lullabies I once hummed in dim kitchens and quiet nurseries. Those same hands that cooked meals, no one thanked me for that folded clothes with no applause, now move for me. Elise pops her head in from the back. Staying late again. I nod, just tidying, thinking. She smiles, leaning in the doorway, arms crossed. You know some women come here to sell, some to heal, but you came here to remember. I don't answer. I don't have to. She's right. When I finally leave, the wind outside is gentle, tugging at my coat like an old friend. I walk to the bus stop with slow steps and a full tote. No hurry, no wait. Back home, Mark is in the garage tinkering with something, and Candace is curled up on the couch watching one of those design shows she always liked where people tear things apart just to build them prettier. I glance at her as I pass. She looks up, then away, then back. You staying for dinner? She asks. I blink. If you're offering. She shrugs. I defrosted chicken. Figured we could eat together tonight. That's as close to an olive branch as she knows how to offer, and for now, I'll take it. We eat in near silence, but not the kind that punishes. This one simply waits. Mark talks a little about work. I listen, offering nods and hums in the right places. Candace asks where I get my fabrics. I tell her about the thrift shops, the fabric exchange bin at Silver Roots. She murmurs, sounds peaceful. Later in my room, I light one of Sierra's candles, orange peel and second chances. The scent settles around me like a warm blanket. I pull out the sketchbook Mark gave me and open to the first blank page. At the top I write, I begin sketching designs. Not just towels or bookmarks, but phrases I wish I'd had stitched on my skin all those years I let people talk over me. No is a complete sentence. You are not responsible for anyone's comfort but your own. Love doesn't mean staying quiet. As I draw, I feel something release in me. A quiet click like a door inside my chest swinging open. This isn't just healing, it's becoming. Before bed, I fold tomorrow's shop items carefully and tuck a tiny note into one. If you feel invisible, know this. Someone sees you now. I press it into the hem. Maybe someone will find it and cry. Maybe someone won't notice it at all. But either way, it's there. Like me. Wednesday morning arrives gently like a soft knock on a door that's already open. I wake before the sun fully rises, and for once I don't feel pulled from sleep, I feel invited. I sit up slowly, roll my shoulders, and breathe in the faint scent of orange peel and wax lingering from the candle I burned last night. It smells like peace, like quiet permission to keep going. In the kitchen, I find Mark already dressed buttering toast with focused precision. There's a second mug beside his steaming the tea tag dangling like a flag. "For you," he says without turning. "Cinnamon, right?" I nod surprised. "Thanks," I say, cradling the cup. "That's thoughtful." He shrugs. "You've been thoughtful my whole life. I figure I'm about 30 years behind." It's not an apology, but it's closer than anything he said before. Candace comes in moments later, rubbing sleep from her eyes. She glances between us. "You're off to your shop again." I nod every day I can. There's a silence that used to sting. Now it just floats there. I don't fill it. I don't rush to soften it. Let them feel it. I leave with my tote slung over my shoulder, and for the first time as I step out into the soft morning, I realize I'm not walking away from anything anymore. I'm walking toward everything I didn't know I still had in me. At Silver Roots, Elise is humming as she unpacks new displays. Sierra is already setting up her candle shelf, arranging them in a neat triangle, pride blooming on her face like spring. "Got a minute?" Elise asks, pulling me to the back. She hands me a folded paper, a printed invitation. Local Artisan Showcase, featured speaker. Maureen Ellis topic stitching. Through silence, how craft helped me reclaim my voice. My hands tremble. "You don't have to say yes," Elise says gently. "But they want you. I want you. And I think there are women who need to hear what you've learned." I hold the paper, reading it again and again as if it might change. "I'm not used to being heard," I whisper. "You've always been worth hearing," she says. "You were just surrounded by people too loud to listen." I take the paper home that night. Dinner is warm, set on the table. Mark plates my food without asking. Candace even offers me a napkin with a small smile. The world isn't perfect, but it's softer. In my room, I tape the invitation beside the framed towel. The sight of both the stitched, "Still here," "Still whole," beside the words, "Featured speaker," makes my throat ache in the best way. I open my sketchbook and begin to outline what I might say. Not everything, but enough. How silence can shape you without your consent. How survival looks ordinary on the outside, but is holy on the inside. How reclaiming your voice doesn't require shouting, it just requires believing you deserve to speak. I close the book, rest my hands on the fabric in my lap, and whisper, "I'm not extra. Not anymore. Not ever again." Thursday morning arrives slow and silver clouds hanging low like a blanket not yet shaken off. I rise before the others pad barefoot across the quiet floor and take a moment by the window. The street below is still. A single bird hops across the railing, feathers puffed head, cocked like it's waiting for something. I nod to it because I know that waiting. Today feels still, but not empty. Like standing in a doorway before stepping into something new. Downstairs, Mark is already sipping coffee. He gestures to the pot. I pour a cup without speaking. We've learned not every kindness needs commentary. "Big plans today?" he asks. I nod. "I'm working on my talk for the showcase." He stiffens slightly. "Public speaking, you." I smile, apparently. He looks down, swirls the coffee in his cup. "You were always quiet, Mom. I didn't realize how much you kept in." That's the thing, I say softly. Quiet doesn't mean hollow, it just means careful. He nods slowly, like that truth is sitting in his chest for the first time. Candace enters with earbuds in, gives a little wave. "Morning," she mumbles. Her tone is gentler than it used to be, less brittle, more human. I leave the house with my speech draft folded in my bag, my shop apron rolled under one arm. On the bus, I read through my words again. There's power in being overlooked, because when you rise, they don't see it coming. And by the time they notice, you've already remembered who you are. At Silver Roots, the others greet me like I've always belonged. Sierra offers me one of her new candles, Cloven Courage, she calls it. "For your big talk," she says. "So you remember you've already done the hard part." Elise pulls me aside after lunch, slipping a soft gray cardigan into my hands. "I wore this the day I confronted my husband," she says quietly. "I don't need it anymore." "But you might." I hold it to my chest, swallowing the knot in my throat. The rest of the afternoon is quiet. I stitch napkins. I rearrange a shelf. I write down new words in my sketchbook like planting seeds, visibility, grace, becoming, enough. As I leave that evening, the wind picks up, tugging gently at my coat. It smells like lilac and something else I haven't smelled in years change. At home, dinner is set again. Not elaborate, just food, shared. Candace even pours me a glass of water. "How's the speech coming?" she asks. I blink. "You heard." "Mark told me." She hesitates. "I think that's really brave." I almost laugh. Not because it's funny, but because for years I've been told I was less than, and now they call me brave for speaking the truths they never bothered to ask about. "It's not bravery," I say gently. "It's just time." That night in my room, I light the Cloven Courage candle, drape Elise's cardigan over my chair, and reread my speech. And as I finish the last line, "I am not who you made me think I was. I am more." I let the tears come. Not because I'm sad, but because I'm ready. Friday arrives draped in golden sunlight, soft and forgiving. It slips between the curtains and lands gently on my lap as I sit at the edge of my bed, the final draft of my speech folded carefully in my hands. Tomorrow is the showcase. Tomorrow I will speak. But today is for the quiet preparation, the inner stillness that comes before stepping out of who you were and into who you're finally allowed to be. In the kitchen, I find Mark pouring pancake batter onto the griddle. He glances up, surprised to see me. "Thought I'd make breakfast," he says. "Figured you might need something warm in your belly before your big day." I nod slowly, "Thank you." Candace enters moments later, holding a folded piece of linen. "I ironed this for you," she says, almost shy. "Thought it might work for your speech tomorrow." She hands it to me, my embroidered apron, the one with "Still Here." Still whole, stitched at the hem. I hadn't noticed it missing from my tote. I hold it gently. "You found this." "It was in the wash," she says, and I read the words. I guess I finally understood them. Her eyes flick to Mark. "You're strong," and I didn't see it. I don't offer forgiveness. I don't say, "It's okay," because it wasn't. But I do offer her something more important, understanding. I didn't need you to see it before I say. I just needed you to stop pretending it wasn't there. She nods. That's enough. Later at Silver Roots, I walk through the shop, slowly running my fingers over shelves I once thought too good for me. Now they feel like home. My hands are steady as I fold napkins, label bookmarks, tuck handwritten quotes into sachets. Rosa brings in a thermos of homemade soup and insists I take it home. Sierra offers to help me rehearse if I need a voice in the room. Elise places her hand on my shoulder and says simply, "You're ready." I walk home with the cardigan draped over my arm, the speech folded in my pocket like a talisman. I walk slowly, listening to the sounds of the world, the wind through hedges, the laughter of children skipping down the sidewalk, the faint trill of a bird far off. And somewhere along the way, I realize I am not nervous. I am not afraid. I am not small anymore. At home, I sit down and write one more note. Not to Mark, not to Candace. To myself. Dear Maureen, you didn't ask for this path, but you walked it anyway, with dignity, with grace, with threads of fire stitched into your silence. Tomorrow when you speak, speak for the woman who waited. Speak for the one still waiting, and don't hold back. Not anymore. I place the note inside the pocket of my apron. Then I lay out my clothes for the next morning. I pack my tote. I set 2 alarms. I light my candle. And I sleep soundly, peacefully, because the woman I am now doesn't fear the stage. She is the stage, and the world at last will listen. Saturday morning rises soft and silver-edged, the kind of morning that feels like a held breath. The air is quiet but thick with possibility, like the moment before the conductor lifts her hands and the music begins. I wake before my alarms, not from nerves, from calm, from knowing. I dress slowly, carefully. A long navy skirt, soft cotton blouse, Elise's cardigan draped over my shoulders like armor, stitched from shared survival. Last I tie on my embroidered apron. Still here, still whole. The thread work is simple, but it hums beneath my fingertips like a living thing. Downstairs, Mark is pacing near the door with his keys in hand. "I'm driving you," he says. I raise an eyebrow. "It's not a favor," he adds quickly. I just want to be there." Candace appears behind him with a thermos and a paper bag, soup and banana bread. "You shouldn't have to stand in front of strangers on an empty stomach." I take both heart caught in my throat. "Thank you," I say. Mark opens the car door for me. As I slide in, I catch my reflection in the rearview mirror. The woman staring back is not the same one who clutched a printed job slip just weeks ago. She's not hunched, not holding her tongue, not afraid to take up space. At the community center, the parking lot is already full. White tents dot the lawn. Folding chairs face a small wooden stage. Signs flap gently in the breeze. Local artisan showcase featured speaker, Maureen Ellis, 12:00 p.m., stitching through silence. Elise meets me at the back door with a clipboard and a soft squeeze of my hand. "They're all here," she says, eyes shining. "They're ready." I step behind the curtain and peek out. Rosa sits front row, hands clasped in her lap. Sierra holds a candle in her palm like a good luck charm. And beside them, my son, Mark, sitting still, watching. The announcer takes the mic. Our next speaker reminds us that survival doesn't always roar. Sometimes it threads itself into the quiet corners and becomes something fierce. Please welcome Maureen Ellis. I take the stage. At first I can only hear my breath. But then the words begin. I spent years being useful, quiet, helpful. Background noise in my own story. I pause. The room holds still. I was called an extra mouth, so I took a job cleaning cages. I scrubbed hamster wheels and washed dog bowls. And every night I folded laundry for people who stopped seeing me. A murmur of recognition ripples through the room. But silence doesn't mean nothing is happening. Sometimes silence is a seed. I step forward. I found a place that didn't ask me what I used to be. They asked what I could make now. I raised my voice steady and low. I stitched my way back to myself, one word, one napkin, one towel at a time. Not loud, not fast, but real. I hold up my apron. Still here, still whole. The audience exhales like they were holding their breath for me. Some clap, some cry. All of them see me. And in that moment, I finally see me too. When I step down, Mark meets me at the stairs. His eyes are wet. "You were never an extra mouth," he says, voice cracking. "You were the whole table." I press a hand to his cheek. "It just took you too long to pull up a chair. We don't need more than that." That evening, I return home, apron folded neatly in my lap, voice echoing gently in my own chest. And I write one final note. "Dear listener, you may feel small today, tucked away, forgotten, but hear this. Your story is still unfolding. Your voice is not gone. It's just waiting for you to clear your throat, to pick up the needle, to step onto the stage. And when you do, the world will not be ready, but it will need you." Sunday doesn't come with fanfare. It comes with softness, the kind of softness that makes you want to hold something gently, your tea, your breath, your own hand. The applause from yesterday still echoes faintly in my ears, but I don't need it to be loud. It's enough to know it happened, enough to know I happened. I wake slowly, letting the sunlight wash across the bed like an old friend. For the first time in years, I feel no weight in my chest, no dread, no ache of unspoken thoughts. Just quiet peace. In the kitchen, Mark is cooking again. French toast this time, cinnamon rising warm in the air. He looks over his shoulder and smiles. A real one. "You looked strong yesterday," he says, like someone I didn't realize I missed. I sit my hands wrapped around the mug Candace set beside my plate. She doesn't say much, but she sits with us. And for once, the silence feels like company, not distance. After breakfast, I gather my things and walk to Silver Roots even though the shop is closed. The front window still holds my display napkins with stitched phrases, tiny pouches with lavender, one-frame towel with "still here," "still whole." I step inside with Elise, who is dusting shelves and humming to herself. "You were wonderful," she says, not even looking up. "But more than that, you were true." I nod, moving through the space slowly, carefully, like a woman walking through the house she built with her own hands. Sierra left a note taped to the wall. You made me want to begin. I add a note beside it. You're allowed to begin again and again and again. We don't run out of chances. We just run out of people reminding us we have them. That evening, I return home and begin packing. Not because I'm leaving in bitterness, but because I've outgrown this space. I'll find a room above the shop. Elise offered it last week. Just a small one with a window and a kettle and enough quiet to make things that speak louder than I ever did. Mark helps carry the boxes to the car. Candace stands nearby, arms folded, unsure whether to hug or not. I don't know what to say, she murmurs. I smile, you don't have to say anything. But she steps forward anyway, wraps her arms around me and whispers, "Thank you for staying as long as you did." I hug her back. Thank you for letting me leave. Later in my new room above Silver Roots, I unpack the framed towel and hang it beside my bed. I open the window. Light spills in. So does wind, and it feels like I can breathe all the way down to my feet. I make a cup of tea. I sit, and I write, "Dear woman reading this, maybe your voice has been packed away, your worth, buried under years of service. No one noticed. But hear me when I say you're not invisible. You're not extra. You're not done. You are the thread holding more together than anyone realizes. So don't wait for permission. Don't wait for applause. Begin. Stitch. Speak. Walk forward. Quietly, proudly, wholly. You're still here. And you're more than enough. There's something sacred in the quiet that follows becoming. Not everyone will notice the shift in you. Not everyone is meant to. Some will still look at you with old eyes, expecting the woman who once folded herself into corners to keep doing so. But that's not who you are anymore. You are not the silence between other people's conversations. You are not the shadow behind the real family. You are not a body to fill a chair at someone else's table. You are your own warmth, your own home. So if today you find yourself steeping tea in a quiet room, folding laundry that no one will thank you for, or brushing your hair in a mirror no one looks into, but you know that these moments are not empty. They are yours, and that makes them sacred. Let the kettle whistle for you. Let the wind move through your curtains like applause. Let the candle burn low beside your journal, while your pen dances out everything you were never allowed to say. You don't need to shout. You've already spoken, in the stitch, in the silence, in the standing back up. And no one can take that from you now.